Most people pay scant attention to politics. Almost half the population generally do not vote, and even many of those who do vote give limited thought to their choice outside of the days or minutes before they mark a ballot paper. For that reason, political parties have a narrow opportunity in which to grab the attention of anyone outside that segment of the population which follows the twists and turns of political debate. One such opportunity, which could be critical to the future of Northern Ireland, is now just 3 years hence. In 2021, the centenary of the creation of Northern Ireland will be marked. It will be a time when allegiances are pondered, and in some cases reassessed. For the majority of the population which is unionist, it will be a milestone of enormous significance. A state, pragmatically carved out of an island at a time of immense European upheaval and against the wishes of a significant minority of the new Northern Ireland's inhabitants, will have survived for 100 years. Today, its position is far from certain, but hardly much more precarious than it was in 1921 when the fledgling entity was born. New swing voters will decide the future. This history is about to matter politically because the nature of the commemorations in 2021 will have the potential to profoundly influence a now politically significant segment of the population which either shuns the labels, unionist and nationalist, entirely or feels much less affinity with those constitutional identities than their parents and grandparents. It is that segment of the population which at some point in Northern Ireland's second century will, in a referendum on the border, decide if this part of Ireland remains British or unites with the rest of the island. Belfast, the capital of Northern Ireland. Photo, Peter McDermott, Getty. The Republic faced a similar situation 2 years ago. The Irish government put enormous thought, time and money into the events to mark the centenary of the Easter Rising. Its commemorative events firmly endorsed what it views as the legitimacy of the 1916 rebels' actions which, through a chain of events, gave birth to the state. But, in a development which showed Ireland to be a country far more confident and mature than had been the case 50 years previously, it also was able to commemorate the British soldiers and the Irish policemen who those rebels killed. And a former Taoiseach, John Bruton, felt able to publicly denounce the moral choices of the rebels. North of the border, just a couple of years ago, 2021 was looked forward to confidently by Unionists. Relative political stability, unprecedented support for the Union, the growth of a Northern Irish identity, a declining nationalist vote and a new popular leader of Unionism pointed to 2021 being a celebratory affair. No longer. Unionism now has a weakened leader who is out of office and embroiled in the RHI scandal, while Brexit has dismayed cultural nationalists previously content with the status quo. Unionism has lost its stormont majority and talk of a border poll is more serious than it has been at any point in the lifetimes of those under 40. Orange and DUP planning events despite the uncertainty. Preparations for 2021 continue, although the degree to which they are coordinated or involve government is unclear. The DUP has for several years been considering this, even devoting a significant section of its manifesto last year to the issue, while the Orange Order has also been planning for this for years. Before his untimely death a year and a half ago, Drew Nelson, the key strategic brain of the Orange Order for the previous decade, had been working on the Order's plans to play its part in the commemorations. That work is now continuing within the Order, and something such as a parade from Belfast city centre to Stormont, what happened to mark the centenary of the Ulster Covenant in 2012, is likely to be entirely uncontroversial. But the DUP in particular faces a challenge in balancing the desire of many of its supporters for a jingoistic flag-waving celebration with the knowledge that if the events appear too much like the 12th of July it could alienate the very people who will decide whether Northern Ireland lasts to see its 150th or 200th birthdays. few years ago, polling pointed to the likelihood that many Catholic voters might think, 100 years on, our position has been transformed, we feel comfortable and treated fairly within Northern Ireland. Now, amid an increasingly tribalized political landscape, Brexit's uncertainty and the jaw-dropping revelations of the RHI inquiry which are revealing incompetence across a swath of the machinery of government in Belfast, there is an acute danger that in 2021 a section of Catholics who could have been persuaded of the Union's merits instead say, we gave this 100 years and it is just a failed state. Can unionism adapt? Perhaps the most persuasive argument to the constitutionally content but culturally nationalist voters would be a 2021 in which unionist leaders in Northern Ireland as a whole can explicitly accept and address the injustices which faced many Catholics in the early decades of the state but assure them such a situation can never happen again. Some senior DUP figures are aware of the need to make 2021 an inclusive year. The party's last manifesto outlined a series of uncontroversial proposals, everything from a £1,000 gift to every centenarian to giving every child born that year a baby box, a Finnish idea aimed at giving every child an equal start in life, and a one-off public holiday, something on which workers of all shades, if not bosses, could unite. But on the more politically sensitive celebrations, can they incorporate the Irish language, the Catholic Church, the GAA or any of the other aspects of life which mean little to, or are actively opposed by, many DUP supporters? Although 2021 is predominantly a question for unionism, it is also something of a conundrum for Sinn Féin. Whereas the Gerry Adams of the 1980s or 1990s would have shunned a commemoration of partition, if Sinn Féin is serious about winning a border poll in the short to medium term, it needs to persuade unionists that they would be respected within a united Ireland. New Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou MacDonald. Photo, Charles McQuillan, Getty. Could Mary Lou MacDonald try to do that by participating in the 2021 commemorations without a huge backlash among Republicans? Unionism can no longer just equal Protestantism. History shows unionism to have been nowhere near as unbending as its self-cultivated image suggests. But while it has adapted and made myriad concessions, at critical points it has almost invariably done so too late for each concession to have any effect, and instead by that stage a greater concession is on the table, which is resisted until that is conceded too late, and so the process continues. The temptation for each unionist leader is to ensure their re-election by doing that which they know will ensure their re-election, even if it weakens support for the union. In all of this, there is a note of hope to unionism and caution to nationalism. Even if 2021 is disastrous in persuading swing voters to support the union, it may not be fatal for the union. If a constitutionally agnostic citizen dislikes a display of jingoism, their distaste for that might not outweigh the pragmatic reasons which leave them happy with the status quo, whether that be the NHS or a fear of instability. But, with projections that the Catholic population is soon to overtake Protestants, and in a time of considerable political uncertainty, each vote won or lost may be definitive. If unionism simply equals Protestantism, then unionism is doomed. The nature of Northern Ireland's centenary could be critical to the continuation of the Union as we have known it.